So welcome everybody. Welcome to our second webinar. I don't know if this is going to be a series, but this is definitely a second webinar on living miraculously. With people, I imagine most people who are here, I would imagine everybody that's here, if I'm honest, know who Dominic Scaffidi and Grace Kelly are. They are the leaders. They are the leaders of the Living Miraculously online program that's been, is it 2 years it's been running now?
Going into four.
Going into four.
Going
Oh,
into fourth
yes.
year.
Going into 4 years. So there you go.
Crazy.
Time flies when you're having fun, right? So both Dominic and Grace are coaches. Executive coach is Dominic, transformational coach is Grace. And I believe I know they both point in the direction of who we really are and how our experiences are created, encouraging us all to see life as miraculous. So that's my introduction, very brief. I want to hand over to you two for the meat. And I don't like saying that word as a non-meat eater, but there you go. It came out of my mouth. Take it away.
Thank you, Sheila. Yeah, and thanks for organizing this, and thanks for organizing the second upcoming retreat of Living Miraculously. I laughed when you said Grace and Dominic are the leaders of this Living Miraculously. No, we're not. We're in the program. That's the only reason it's gone on for 4 years is because we keep exploring the same thing. And it's funny because Grace and I were doing this for a few years before a program ever came about. Grace and I would have these, it was weekly. We were meeting and we would have a 1 hour and a conversation, and which is how we kind of saw the harmony in the way we were looking. And we were both, our meeting happened because of 3 principles, and that was kind of the basis. But then, we both have our own expressions of it. Those of you in our program will know we have very different expressions of it. And people called us the Sonny and Cher of this. Because, Grace, of course, is quite graceful, poetic, and the way she describes this stuff. And she talks about a spiritual team, and she'd like all this spiritual support and these ways of expressing. And then me, I'm like this geek, technical geek, very precise with the words. It's like, wait a minute, that one word is in conflict. So we each have our ways, and but we're saying the same thing. We come at it in entirely different ways. So, Grace.
Oh, well, I love that we come at it in different ways and point to the same thing. I just think it's a wonderful collaboration together, Dominic, and it's lovely to be now collaborating with Sheila with the gorgeous intention of live retreats, something that has been certainly on my mind the last year or two. So,
oh, come on. If we're honest, you've been on me about a live retreat. If we're honest here, Grace has been talking about a retreat forever. And I was always like thinking in the way. I was always like, oh yeah, but that's complicated. I haven't done, I don't like, and Grace was like, no, yeah, the retreat, we should be doing a retreat. And yes, so Grace has actually been talking about it forever. I was the block. I was the resistance. And ultimately, Sheila came out, and there was a co-creation here, which was harmonious.
The miracle happened. The miracle happened through Sheila. Sometimes Dominic doesn't quite trust my intuition initially. But luckily, I have learned not to force and not to push, because life will always find a way to ensure that an idea gets born. So I think that's where Living Miraculously really starts. It's really looking in the direction of trusting the guidance that we get, trusting the knowing that we have. And one of the beautiful pointers that we want to share today is really around what gets in the way, because it's not what you think. You know, what actually gets in the way of the miracle is what Dominic has just described. And you know, we're not immune to this. You know, this goes on for us too. But what gets in the way is that resistance. It's that thinking. It's that level of insecure thinking or just noisy thinking that kind of is just louder and takes over the guidance that we're getting. And then we wonder why our lives aren't working out. You know, I was so reminded of this recently when, you know, I was thinking about an idea for my own business, and I was thinking up the ideas, something that I've learned over time isn't the best place to actually, it's not the path of least resistance, let's say. I was thinking up what I should do. And I just went to bed the night before and I asked for the guidance. Just give me clear direction. And when I got up the next morning, a name dropped into my mind. And I had not considered this person. And yet I have discovered in the last fortnight that, in fact, that name and that person was the answer that I was looking for, was the guidance, was the direction. Now, the resistance I had when I heard that name totally showed up. But over the course of our own Living Miraculously program, I've been honing that. I think we all have been honing that first instinct, that first intuition, that first guidance. And so the block, as it were, the resistance fell away, and I followed up with what I heard. And lo and behold, a far easier, more graceful, more miraculous path and result than what I personally was thinking up that needed to happen. So Dominic and I are just sharing a little bit here about this block that we sometimes get. It's not that we don't have the miracle, the guidance, the clarity, the direction, and sometimes life sending you the direction. But this piece where we start to kind of get into a lot of thinking, that's the bit where a miraculous life, really, if you want to start living in the miracle more and more, we want to be paying less and less attention to that. We want to be more in the connection of the guidance. So yeah, so what do you see there, Dominic, as well?
Well,
like, what do you see about the resistance?
Yeah, that is so and what's exciting is that there's a feeling in the guidance.
Yeah.
So the resistance part, so there's a feeling in the guidance, and basically what you could say is that the feeling of this energy that creates worlds, that is flowing through you, it flows through you, it lives and breathes you, wants nothing but your thriving. We'd say your soul wants only to express and experience more of itself as you. This is what you feel as desire. You feel the soul, something that is truly who you are, bigger than what you think, more than what you think you are. And you are feeling that will, desire to express more of yourself, your whole self, and to experience more of yourself. But as Grace said, it's like what gets in the way is always the same thing. So what's really great is you don't have to worry about well, I don't know what's in my way, things get in my way. No, it's always the same thing. It keeps it simple. What is in the way is a thought that opposes that energy. It is always the same thing. Were it not for a conflicting thought, you would be in a beautiful feeling. Your soul, which is you, the whole of you would be living your life unopposed. The whole of you would be expressing the whole of yourself unopposed. It would simply be doing that. It would be vibrating at the highest vibration of the truth of you and all that you truly desire. And that experience, the feeling of that, would be the words we call of the feeling of that is bliss. It is pure joy. It is love. It is peace. It is empowerment. It is clarity. It is knowing. That's what is natural to you. And the only thing that could be different in all of that is a thought that opposes. So I'm so excited about one day I'm going to be in a relationship. I see people in relationship. I can imagine what my relationship is. So this is on the way to my relationship. I am anticipating, looking forward to, excited about. And then there's a thought, well, it's not that easy finding a relationship. Now, this isn't your thought. How many people actually believe that that was your thought? You are not that original. That was not a unique thought. Well, it's not easy to be in a relationship. You are not the first person who has ever had that thought. It is not even original. So they float around. Thoughts simply exist as possibilities. So that one happened to float by. Oh, that's an interesting thought. Like a moment ago, I'm thinking about love and the relationship and me being in that guy. And then a thought comes, well, that's not easy. And that interests me. What is not easy? Yeah, that's true. I think anything worthwhile, notice the temptation. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true because anything worthwhile probably isn't easy. Yes, not easy. It's going to take some work, Oh, another thought. It's good. Now, how many people actually believe that it's going to take some work to get what you truly desire was an original thought that you thought? Sorry to tell you, you're not that original. That is not your thought. That is simply a possibility. And that thought rides along on the same vibration and energy of the previous thought. And it's like, well, it's going to take some work. And not all of it is going to be fun. There's a third thought. So these thoughts party. If you start to engage with a thought, they just party. They have, you start dancing with them. They start moving about. They call friends. They text friends. They bring more friends there. Soon you're in a party and on a train of thought, all of it in resistance and in opposition to what you truly desire. The birth of that thought. The birth of the thought was, wow, a loving relationship. I can just see it. So many people are in one and I can find one too. And that wasn't interesting enough because another thought that came became more interesting. But it's not easy, you know. And from that thought, the next thought, it takes some work, and that engagement and that's how resistance begin. Had I stayed in the feeling, it would unfold miraculously. Had I let my soul live through me, express itself through me, it would unfold in synchronicities and miracles that I couldn't believe. It would happen so quickly, it would be astonishing. And I shouldn't even say quickly. It would happen in a way that it is so joyous and enjoyable. It might even take longer because there is more feeling and fun and experience in longer than if I thought of the relationship and met the person tomorrow. That's okay, but that may not be fun. There's no story in it. There's so much fun in the story of how it all unfolded. And your soul knows that. It doesn't want to just, you're here to experience the journey of your true desires unfolding into your experience in the most joyful and miraculous way. And that's what happens naturally, because life is miraculous. We do not teach the method for living miraculously. There is not a method for living miraculously. There are not practices for living miraculously. All we do is explore the understanding of life is miraculous. You don't make it miraculous. It already is. And as you understand and align to the understanding that you have, you are living miraculously, effortlessly. You don't do it. It just is, you always live effortlessly according to your understanding. I better pause. Grace.
But I just love what that brings up, because it really it really points to all we really have to do, if there's something to do, is be honest about our true desires. Following true desires doesn't require striving, as we said in our blurb about living miraculously. You know, it doesn't require striving, but it does require honesty. Because the ability to resist the desire is strong in many of us. Sometimes we have the idea that if we were to really go for the desire, we would lose favor, or we would lose, or it would cost too much, or there would be a consequence to it. And so part of our exploration and actually living a miraculous life is based on really becoming sensitive and attuned to the true desires within ourselves, regardless of what we have learned about what needs to occur to follow through. I've always loved or found comfort in the fact that the word desire, the Latin root of that word is desidere, meaning from the Father. And I've always taken comfort that anything I'm desiring is God-given, is spirit-given, is the way in which life, God, the energy, the universe wants to express through me. And all that's happened is innocently we've learned to either shut that down or just simply tune in more to the dialogue in our head that is often putting a gun to our head about that desire. And so in our exploration of living miraculously, we're really beginning to get attuned to, well, what is it I want? And before I talk myself out of it or intellectualize it or principle it, like, let me just sit in the feeling of the beauty of that. And sometimes it's a clear direction that we have, and sometimes it's a kind of getting ready to be ready for that. I know in my own life that, you know, I had this desire. I think I became a school teacher very easily, went in that direction, and very quickly had the desire to not be a school teacher, to keep teaching, but not to be doing it in this confined way, in this drab environment. Much as I loved the kids, I did not love you know, just the whole rigmarole of going to a 9 to 5. And so the desire was in me to get out of that job. And I had no idea how. But the timeline was a few years. So like it wasn't an immediate, that's it, I'm out of here. The timeline was a few years. The desire did not go away. In fact, it got stronger and stronger and stronger. And in my intellect, I had made up all the ways I needed to get out of this job. Life had a far easier path. As my desires, my true desire continued to guide me, I came home from work one day and my partner said to me, you know what? You want out of your job and I want out of London. That was news to me. What do you say we both get out of here and we go to Italy for a year and figure out what's next? Now, I could never have come up with that, nor could I ever have come up with using my skills as a teacher to then move into coaching or teaching online. There's no way I could have come up with that. Yet, that's how miraculous life is. That's how well loved we all are. That this energy that's flowing through us would plant a seed of desire within us. And our only job is not to resist and not to be watching the clock on it, but to be open to the path of least resistance, to the way forward with it.
Mm. Mm.
That's why there's no striving when it comes to this.
Mm-hmm. It's so common sense when you say you will never achieve a miracle. You're not going to achieve a miracle. You can only allow miracles. The allowing of a miracle is get your nonsense out of the way, because life is miraculous were it not for the nonsense in resistance to it. So you don't achieve miracles. Watch what I do with my business. It's going to be a miracle. No, it isn't. It's going to be some sort of predictable, incremental thing that you're going to do using the tiny little mind and your intelligence and what you can figure out about how to do this and that and the other thing. And you're going to piece the thing together. It's not a miracle. So a miracle can be allowed. And I love how you said, like, you can't figure out how to get out of teaching and do coaching, and you're living with a partner in London, and what are you going to do and all that. Like, so you can't. But see, here's the thing. You can't, because you're a tiny little mind with little bits of info and trying to figure out a path from here to there. Meanwhile, your soul lives and breathes you as an infinite intelligence. This is better than AI. It is all-knowing, infinite intelligence. It knows what you truly desire. It knows what you truly will be fulfilled in and what your greatest gifts are. Here's the thing, you may or may not know that, but an all-knowing intelligence knows that. You might need to catch up. But if an all-knowing intelligence didn't know that, then it wouldn't be very all-knowing, would it? So it knows what that true desire is. And just to be clear, it's not its desire. This is your desire, which has been clarified in the experience of living your life. It knows it, it holds it. That is the energy that lives and breathes you. And contained within it is the intelligence of all things, the creator of all things. And so when you say, yeah, but I don't know how I could ever, I was in the same way. I was in this executive position, right, with stock options, company car, short-term bonus, long-term incentives. It was basically handcuffed, unable to move out. And I was in HR, so I'm the one who created those kinds of handcuffs so that people couldn't leave. And so for me, the feeling of a desire to be on my own or to do what is natural to me, the coaching, the sharing like that, I can't figure it out. I don't see how this will work. I have young kids at the time. It's like I have young kids, a family. I can't see how this would ever work. And then my role was eliminated, terminated from the job. Oh, hang on a second. Wait a minute. Aren't we talking about living miraculously? Yeah, that's what living wait, you just said you were terminated from your job. Yeah. That's right. That's how a miracle unfolds. What are you talking about? That's not a miracle. That is horrible, right? Well, yeah, to a tiny little mind that is not all-knowing, but to my soul that only calls me to what I truly desire, that's the next step. Are you so termination from your job is the next step on the desire? Yeah, it's actually not only the next step, it's the path of least resistance. It's actually the easiest step. Oh, that was not easy. Do not tell me that was easy. No, it is the easiest path. How would that be the easiest path? Well, any other path would be harder, because any other path would be you would need to quit. You would need to jump. You would need to take the risk. There's no way you would do that. That would just be too big a jump. So your soul is intelligent. It's infinitely intelligent. It moves you by the path of least resistance, calling you to all that you desire. And if we don't have time here, but in our Living Miraculously program, I have shared about just the miracles that unfolded, the synchronicities, the things that come together from that horrible thing. Horrible thing, right? It's like, yeah, maybe to a little mind, there's a horrible thing. But if you can stay in the channel of what's actually happening and unfolding in life, which is actually in a feeling that does not feel like that. You know, when you're saying horrible, that your perspective or way of seeing this is in contradiction with truth. That's the reason it feels horrible, because you're thinking something that's nonsense, and you cannot think something that's nonsense and feel good at the same time. So your soul knows truth. And when you are thinking, well, maybe this is an opportunity, that thought feels better. That thought has more intelligence in it. This is your guidance. When you're thinking the thought, oh my God, I've now been terminated. I don't know what's going to happen. We could lose the house and we might have to sell the kids. that thought has nonsense in it. Can you tell the difference? The difference is in the feeling. Your soul never leads you. The feeling of truth always feels a particular way. And in every case, the way that it feels is far better than your nonsense. So which thought will you party with? Selling the kids. I wonder where you sell kids and whether that'll be enough money for us to survive. Which one will you party with? Or maybe this is an opportunity. I've wanted something else. Maybe this is the space. Which thought do you party with? Which thought do you engage with? You are being guided by the feeling, and one of these paths is in a life and an unfolding which is miraculous. It will astonish you. It will surprise and delight you. And the other one is quite ordinary. And there will be struggle and hardship and all kinds of things down that. It's a simple choice. And you are free to make it. You are always free. Your soul is not your dictator. Your soul does not force what you think. You are free to think anything. And you will immediately feel whatever it is you are thinking. And there is guidance in that.
And our guidance is something that we want to, we really want to begin to honor that, you know? Like, life really is miraculous when we are simply following the guidance that we're getting. I mean, it's built into the system. This is the most natural thing in the world. And as we are more and more of who we truly are, nothing to change, nothing to fix, nothing, not worrying about upsetting people if we go in the direction of our dream, not worrying about, you know, what's going to happen down the line, as we begin to just express more of who we are, living from that guidance that we're getting. And as Dominic beautifully described, we know it by the feeling. Our lives can't help but get more and more beautiful. You know, I'm often reminded of how this actual program, before it became a retreat, came about. And in that experience, you know, I had been asking for guidance internally, you know, asking. I think that's something we all forget we can do. We can actually ask for guidance and hear ourselves or hear life guide us. And I'd been asking at the time, you know, what's next in my business? I'd lost my partner to a sudden death. I had to move homes. My business had sort of somewhat been remodeled given everything I was going through. And I asked for the guidance, and what I heard was, go to London. Like it made no sense, but it felt damn good. And I remember being so kind of concerned about that guidance, like, oh God, are you sure? Did you hear that right, Grace? I'm not sure about that. That I said to what I now call my spiritual team, but let's just say life. I said, okay, life, if I'm really supposed to go to London, give me a sign today without delay. And I'm out walking my dog, and he's starting to pull me in a different direction that I don't want to go. But for whatever reason, I stopped resisting him and I followed him, right? Where do we want to go? Should we want to...
Hold on.
And he takes me towards a little park where there's a wall and there's graffiti on the wall. And the graffiti on the wall says London. And I actually took a photograph of it because I always wanted to remember that. And that was it for me. I got this beautiful sign from life because I just wasn't trusting the guidance. And so we can ask life for the sign or the direction or the clarity if we want to. And so I get to London and I still don't really know why I'm there, but man, it feels good. It feels good to be traveling. It feels good to be following the guidance. And I'm walking the streets of London and I'm starting to hear over and over and over again, Grace, this is a miracle. You're living miraculously. You're living miraculously. We're living miraculously. And it hits me. That's the next program in my business. Total guidance, not something that we think up and hope it works out, but something that gets landed down, something that gets downloaded. And often, not even a response to what we're asking for. You know, what's the next step in my business? Go to London? That made no sense at all. But man, it felt so good. It felt so good. And there we have it. Life knew why I needed to be in London for a few days. My dog was this beautiful non-resistant channel to make sure that I got the message loud and clear. Who wants to strive and push and effort and intellectualize when there's this incredible resource available to us? And our only job is to follow that feeling, follow that guidance, ask for direction if needs be, and then act on it and discover the beauty of what's available, just being who you really are, being who you are at core. That's how well made we are.
I have to laugh because so this is the example of the Sonny and Cher, and I'm just occurring to me right now how dense I was that this is the part in our program, in the Living Miraculously program. One of the key themes is synchronicity and spiritual support, which is really like from grace, right? I resisted it like crazy. I'm like, it's not resonating with me. I don't get this team thing. It doesn't, right? I don't really, right? And but I'm just occurring to me now how, but the very program you're leading is a result of the spiritual team. Of course, I didn't see that, but because I have my own way of, so like I say, we have our different expressions. They are unique to us. And one of the things I joke with Grace about is like, Grace, you're like so demanding though. Like, so she's interacting with the all, right? Soul. And she's like, give me a sign. And then she gets this thing, London, and that's not good enough because it's a bit confusing. So she's like, well, then if it's the right thing, then give me a sign without delay. Okay, that's pretty demanding. And I want it today. And I'm like, what is that all about? And it took me a while to sort of realize how gracefully grace is just living in the knowing of the non-divisibility of this energy and the spirit, and it's personified, and it's just as a, so I have become less resistant. And through the program, as we continue to lead it, just the crazy stuff that's happened with me, and like, forget my spiritual team, I'm now working with Grace's spiritual team. Francesco helps me do things. And it's like, so there's all sorts of real life experience that's proven to me, yeah, maybe there's something there that you don't really see, and it just continues to be evidenced for me in that way. So,
well, and that's the thing. It's like, I think we've innocently forgotten, you know, that this infinite intelligence is available. And so for me, this takes away the striving element, that we could just be in conversation or in connection, mentally or even verbally, with this energy behind life that absolutely loves us, that is us. And so the conversation of a miraculous life has got to include the beauty of this design, the generosity of this design. That's how well made we are, and that's how loved we are. And I mean, I love that, Dominic, you're able to bring it into the terms that people can also really get practical with. You know, I loved it when Dominic shared with me, you know, oh yeah, I kind of, I know what you mean. It's like when you cut yourself, you don't have to keep looking at the cut. The healing just occurs. Well, that's true. It's like, but what's doing the healing? Who's doing the healing? How come you just put a plaster over it and you take the plaster off a couple of days later and it's not as bad as it was? You see, like there are so many examples of how this energy is working on our behalf. And yet we kind of have learned to innocently just take it for granted or not consider it, or we're just asking you to take it to a new level. When it comes to our exploration, we're inviting you to take this incredible, powerful resource that you have and you are to a whole new level, so that your life is not based on striving and efforting and pushing and disappointment, but rather is based on that incredible expression of who you really are. Remembering the truth of who you really are.
Yeah, that's really great. It's an invitation. Yeah, it's not an invitation to our program. It's inviting you to join us in this exploration. We're not here to, oh, we figured this out a long time ago, so we're teaching it now. No, the invitation is we intend to keep exploring. This is the only, I didn't know this. I don't know. Neither of us knew this. Grace and I had done several programs where Grace and I like offered a program and it was that, and that was the end of it. Then we offered another one, that was it. And then we offered, like, so we did a few things. Then Living Miraculously came, and both of us thought that was that. It was a great idea, new program, and we'll do the program. Well, it wasn't that. It wasn't that. It wasn't a program. It was the beginning of this exploration that Grace and I were into, and we thought this, but other people would be interested. This is an exploration. So the invitation was join us. And so we structured it like this 8-week thing, and it's online. And of course, and then Grace was saying, no, we should also do retreats and all that. And I was like, no, that's complicated. And so anyway, we had to go by the path of least resistance for my blocking. And we continued on, and we're on to year 4 as we continue to explore. But the invitation is to join us in what we're going to be doing anyway. Grace and I will continue to explore. So we will continue to explore this and understand it more deeply. We are not teaching you something. We are not here with some answers to teach you. What's obvious is, as we explore the truth, life is miraculous. As we explore it and understand it more deeply, you can't do otherwise but to live your life in alignment to your understanding. Like, how could you do something else? You have to live your life. There's not like a thing. There's not an effort to this. You're already living your life in accordance to your understanding of life, its nature, in accordance to your understanding of who you really are, your true nature, and the nature of reality. So as we explore more deeply who you really are, your true nature, the nature of reality, and the understanding deepens, you just continue living your life according to your understanding. And as your understanding of the miraculousness of life expands, not in theory, like a good idea, but literally seeing it, pretty soon you are living with an understanding of the miracle that life is. And the only evidence you have of what you know and understand is the experience of your knowing. If you are not experiencing what you know, you're fooling yourself. You don't know it. If you say, well, I know that all is well, but that's not my experience of life. I know that my true nature is abundance, but my experience is one of scarcity and hardship. So you have it as a concept, but you don't actually know it, because to know it, it is embodied and true for you. And that means it is your actual experience. So we invite you to an exploration that deepens your understanding and knowing, and how you will know that you actually know that life is miraculous is because you will be experiencing the miracles in your business, in your relationship, in any area of life that's important to you. You will live the miraculous. If you're not living the miraculously, you don't know the truth of how life works. So there's no difference between understanding and experiencing, knowing and experiencing. So Grace, maybe with that invitation, maybe let's pause for just logistical details about something different. Of course, we have the next Living Miraculously program. It starts on September 8th. It's online. It's 8 weeks. But we have a retreat coming up in November. And by the way, just so you don't have to choose between these, if you are enticed about the retreat being in person with us, we're including the Living Miraculously program. So Grace and I had talked about that, and we thought, well, wait a minute, why are we waiting till November to meet these people at a retreat when we're doing an 8-week program? It's like, could you imagine if everyone was in an 8-week program already exploring, and then we showed up at a retreat where that's the conversation that everyone already had, and now we're exploring in person? Now we can take it from there. So that's kind of how that idea came up. That wasn't even an initial idea. It was just sort of inspired from that thinking. But maybe if we get Sheila to just give us some basic details of the retreat, and then when we might have time to come back. Claire asked a question about how do we know or catch up? How do we catch up to and know our desires? So maybe we'll close there with that one.
Okay, great. I'm so grateful for this conversation. It's like, I love just dipping back into and being pointed towards how it works. And I've been having a sort of tussle in my mind, I guess, about something. And I've heard so clearly I don't have to do anything about it, because I was trying to work it out. It's like, how should I do this? How should I do that? I was like, actually, no, just notice what's already happening. So it's beautiful. So yeah, logistics in terms of the retreat, I'm really glad you brought up that. I just think that's an amazing addition, that the 8-week program that begins on the 8th of September, that'll get us in the mode and get us in the mood, and totally teed up for 3 days in Spain, which is where I am, 3 days from the 5th to the 7th of November. For those of you some of you are here are going to the Viva retreat, which I'm the co-creator and co-founder of that, and that's from the 1st to the 3rd of November. So you're very welcome to that as well if you want to do that while you're in Spain. So yeah, this retreat is 3 days. Living Miraculously in Albir. And there's also a Zoom. We'll have a Zoom. Not only will we have 8 weeks before, we're also going to have a sort of check-in afterwards to see how everybody's going. So I was thinking as you were speaking, like, it's not a program anymore. It's a package. It's a package deal, totally. So yeah, we'd love for you to join us. We have quite a few people already signed up, but we've got room for more. As I say, Albir is a lovely place. Some of you know it very well. It's a reasonably small town on the Mediterranean coast. And in November, the weather is a lot nicer than much of Northern Europe and some of Canada, some of America. So yeah, we've got lots of lovely sunshine here. So you're very welcome. And I look forward to meeting some of you here in November. I've dropped the link in the chat.
Thank you. Yes. Thanks, Sheila.
Thank you, Sheila.
So Grace, maybe we, Claire's question, which is in the chat, maybe we touch on that. How do we catch up to or know our desires? Like, we keep talking about this true desire and all of that. So
yeah. Well, we can both share a little bit there, Dominic, and just what strikes me, Claire, is we always know, like, we know by the feeling. And I just invite anyone who might be in confusion to go in the direction of the simple things first. Like, just notice whenever you have that desire for something to eat. Just notice how you kind of just feel like, oh, I want more of that, not that. Like, we're attuned to our desires all day, and we're acting them out all day. And even though we may have a voice in our head that wants to second guess, talk us out of it, tell us about the consequences if we do such and such, follow such and such a desire, we really just want to begin to acknowledge that this is just how we're built. It's how we're made. We always know what we want and what we don't want. And I know in my own case, I just had to get really good at dropping the chit chat. And one of the things that I did on a practical level was, because I had so much thinking about food and how much weight I might put on with X amount of food or what, I had so much noise that I couldn't really hear my true desires around simple things like food. And what occurred to me to do was go to the restaurant, and every time you're in the restaurant, open the menu and choose the very first thing that jumps out at you, where you get that feeling of yes, and then close the menu and don't look at anything else. I learned from that very simple activity over time to trust and know what I wanted before the noise came in to tell me why I shouldn't, what I should do, what I shouldn't do, And I'm not starring on an episode of My 600-Pound Life. I didn't gain X amount of weight in 3 months because I started eating that way. That's just a very simple example, Claire, but it's just to say, start noticing also the small things during the day. That desire coming up. Oh, I want to go for a walk. Oh, I don't want to watch that movie. Oh, I think I'll call so and so. Like, this is so natural.
I love what you're saying, because what that implies is that the true desire is known. Well, what a relief. See the difference? I don't know what my true desire is. I'm not really sure. I got to but the fact that I don't like this movie and I prefer this food to that, well, that means the true desire is known. It's just, I don't know it. So your soul, again, we make it sound like two. Your soul is you from a broader perspective. So it knows, and it knows all that you truly desire from the living of your life. So what a relief. And by the way, we do these exercises, not exercises, assignments within, Grace has come up with many of them, but like that restaurant example, that we put in these assignments because they're experiments. Instead of us teaching you all this stuff or telling you all this stuff, it's like, hey, just go do this. Next time you feel that, like, just pick the one and don't second guess it. And then just notice what happens, notice what you see. So we don't need to teach you, like, just do this and then see what you see. And your own life will teach you. So that idea is, it is already known, and how much of it can I allow? That's the part. How much of it can I allow? Well, it's got to get through my bullshit first, right? So in other words, in a glimpse at a moment from being terminated from a job, I could know, boy, you know what I would love? What I would really love is just to be a coach and to have a thriving coaching practice. Like, the clarity of it is so strong. And immediately after that is, don't be crazy. You've got young kids. How would you start up something like that? Where would you even find clients? Where does it? And that happens. But in an instant, you catch a glimpse just before that nonsense comes in. And then you say, I don't really know what my true desire is. I'm not really sure what it is. Yes, you do. Without that nonsense. But be gentle. It'll quiet down. You'll see more and more of it. As your noise quiets, it reveals itself more and more.
Yeah. And some desires are just clearer, like you've described, Dominic, knowing what you don't want. Some desires are just very clear. But all of us have desires. There just wouldn't be life without desire. All of us are wired for evolving towards more and more and more of what we want. And we love this exploration because it kind of brings you home to the truth of that, instead of suppressing and kind of just holding back from this life force that wants to express uniquely through you a particular way. And it's my experience that, we're getting guidance all day long. More of that, less of that. More of that, less of that. Fancy that, don't fancy that. It's just so natural. So yes, as you
Beautiful.
said, Dominic, we're getting beyond the BS, getting beyond the noise in our head that is confusing the system. So join us and let's play, let's explore. We hope to see you there.
Beautiful. Hope to see many of you. As some of you are already in our retreat, and others of you will see in our online program, 8-week program that starts September 8th. Beautiful. Thanks, everyone.
Lots
Thanks,
of love,
Sheila,
everybody.
for pulling this together.
Thank you, Sheila.
Beautiful.
Thank you, everybody, for being here
Thank you.
today. Been brilliant.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.
Lovely.